Hi everyone, it's Ian from DIY Home and Gardening. So today, having not done a propagation video for a while, I'm going to do a propagation video. Plant in question is actually in my front garden, so I'll head out there in a moment because we live on a main road, so as soon as I go outside it'll be probably too noisy for me to be heard. The plant in question is a Diascia variety Personata. Unlike probably a lot of Diascias that you guys might know, which are all bedding plants or hanging basket plants, Personata is a perennial. The reason I love it is because it's as tough as anything. It will grow in sun, part shade, relatively deep shade actually, but certainly sun, part shade. Tolerant of my soil, which is a heavy clay, although it probably prefers more free draining. It has lovely sort of cerise pink flowers, very delicate looking, but actually the stems that the Diascia produce get up to about a metre, 1.2 metres high, so 3 to 4 foot, and gradually bulks up to form a lovely clump. It does need a little bit staking, although where I've got it out in the front garden, it literally grows underneath a hedge, so it just kind of comes up through the hawthorn hedge, so that's quite nice. It's not a common plant, although I would say probably a lot of good garden centres should stock it. You'll find it in the perennial section. It has a couple of quirks with how you propagate it, but I'll show you that in a moment. Another good thing, it is classed as a semi-evergreen, so depending how hard the winter is determines how many leaves it will drop. Again, where I've got it out the front, it is quite exposed. It normally drops about half a leaf, but it's never produces sort of a thicket of leaf anyway, so you don't really notice the fact that it's dropped some leaves. And I suppose the other bonus is that it does flower for a long time. Literally starts flowering about end of April, goes through to end of October, November time, depending on, again, the climate. If you have a little read in the books on it, then I think most descriptions say that propagation can be done from seed, cutting, or through division. Well, I've never managed to grow it from seed. Honestly, I've tried, hands up, never managed to grow it from seed. So I've discounted that. I've only got a relatively small plant out the front, and so I didn't want to divide that up because it is quite slow to bulk up as well. So again, I would say unless you've got an established clump and quite a big area, I think probably dividing it up is a bit of a no-go as well. Maybe from, I can't think of a practical reason to try and divide it up, to be honest. So I'm going to show you how to propagate it from cuttings, and it does grow really easily from cuttings, and I've been taking cuttings from the plant out the front there for the last couple of years. And say, because it's so versatile, it means that you can take cuttings and just dot them in different parts of the garden. So if I stop rambling, stop chatting, and we'll go for a stroll, have a look at the plant in question out the front. Okay, so here's the main plant that I've got of the Diascia. You can see it's flowering away, and it has been flowering since about end of April, early May. Excuse the noise because we are on the front and lots more traffic. So if I take a section off, and then we can do some cutting from that in the peace and quiet. So I'm just going to use this slightly smaller piece here. I'll just take it to about there. I have a leaf joint, and then we'll get going. Oh, and I'll take this as well. Okay, so that's better. We're back in the garden, relative peace and quiet, with our couple of offcuts of the Diascia Personata. So as I said before, it is a perennial, and this particular one is classed as a semi-evergreen, and because of that, and because of its nature, we tend to do our cuttings either from June through to end of September, early October. As we're middle of June, or approaching the end of June, this is when I start doing my first cuttings. So I don't know whether you can see, but this has a square stem to it. It also has a hollow to the stem. So that piece, actually, if you try and root that will not root. So you have to do things a little bit differently. Ordinarily, when you're doing your cuttings, it's always don't use a flowering stem. But with this, unless it's a very juvenile stem, you don't have much option. So what you have to do, cut the flower off and then work your way up gently, cutting up the stem until you get to a point where there's no hole or minimal hole visible, and it's only then that you'll get a viable, or you'll get a cutting piece that will root. And then you need to just use your fingers to strip off the lower piece. We'll dip it in some rooting compound, so I'm just using some normal dry mixture, into some multi-purpose compost. So I watered this earlier, it stood for about 20 minutes or so. We're just going to pop it in so it's about an inch down and then firm around, and then we'll do the same with this. So again, let's have a little look, that's about right. Take off your lower leaves and dip that in. And I am going to do some more. So this one, all these cuttings here, well, I actually took those last September, and you can see how well they've done. So like I say, we can start doing cuttings in June right through about the September, October, and because it's a semi-evergreen and a nice tough perennial, it will give you a couple of opportunities to take some cuttings. So this is a basically look what I did earlier type of scenario, but now we've got good growth on it. I'm actually going to use some of these top pieces, the non-flowering pieces, to do some more cuttings with. So you can see it's quite easy to bulk up your numbers, and this is a good idea. It works well on a number of other perennials as well. So yeah, salvia is always a go-to one on this. You can just keep taking cuttings from your cuttings. So I'm going to take some tops out of these and we'll root those also. Bear with. The advantage you get from taking cuttings from these juvenile stems, one, they don't have any flowers. Two, they don't have the same thick hollow stem that the ones from the more mature stems have. So we just pop those in there, and I'll just do one more. So you can see, it doesn't have the same opening. We just take those off, and this will reliably root. I think I might need to put a bit more water into this compost in places, and pop the lid back on. Don't forget to label it or pop it with your already labelled one. And all I tend to do with these Diascias now, or these cuttings, is I'm just going to pop them in a shady area and wait for them to root. So with the autumn cuttings, basically they tend to root by the time we get to the springtime. I mean, realistically, by the time you get to end of October, they've rooted, but not really a viable plant until you get to spring. With the summer ones, you'll find that they will probably be rooted. So these been taken, where are we? About the 20th of June. These will probably be rooted by middle of August. No, well, they'll be sprouting by middle of August. Probably be rooted by end of, well, am I saying June? We're in July. Yeah, July. So it'll be the end of August that they're done. Literally like 5 or 6 weeks, and you'll have plants that got roots coming out of them. So that's it. Video is done. Aside from the fact that I've lost a month somewhere in the calendar, seemed pretty straightforward really. So like I say, Diascia Personata, cuttings, how to propagate that, nice and simple, great perennial if any of you are interested and can find it in your garden centres. If you've got any questions, please send them over to me. I always do my best to answer them for you. If you like what I'm doing, please subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to hit that reminder button so you don't miss out on the future videos that I'm doing. More importantly though, get outside, have fun doing your gardening. And till next time, mind how you go. Bye for now.